what advice would you be telling yourself, 11 years ago, as you're starting out on this venture?
Younger
Yeah.
Greg.
Younger Greg.
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I'd probably, I don't know, it's hard to say because like you learn from a lot of those experiences. I don't know that I would, I mean, there's certainly things I would change, but I also learned from a lot of those. I'd probably be a little bit more strategic in focusing on um, specific asset classes and really, growing that side of the business before adding another division. Um, but I don't know. To some extent, you kind of just take a chance and you do what you think's best in the moment. And that's how we got here. So, the other thing I would say is probably, I worked for companies like Chase Bank that were very rigid, process oriented, horrible culture. It was, you know, kind of yelling, barking orders down in order to get what you wanted. So not a lot of people stayed there very long. It was, you got short term, um, you know, uh, work out of these people, and they worked hard, and then they got burnt out and left. So like, I certainly didn't want that. And then Sleep Train was a, great example of a company that had culture. I would say they probably, in some cases, maybe had a little too much culture, um, with parties and things like that. And so it's like, trying to find the right balance. And, I've been struggling to find that balance. I think we've found it, or we're getting there, to where it needs to be in an environment that people enjoy being in, and there's got to be respect. But respect also is being direct with people and having clear expectations and setting those expectations and having accountability. And I think to some extent that's been a struggle for me, is holding other people accountable, being very direct and clear in what I need them to do, because I tend to be more of a pleaser, and so I don't want to kind of let people down. Um, which I've found through some of my, I'm part of the CEO group that for kind of more entrepreneurial, visionary type people, that's not uncommon. But as you grow and you get more people, you start to see where that becomes a challenge, and and those fractures start to get a little bit bigger, and then you got to figure out, okay, what's the solution? Is it hiring somebody that's just really good at that stuff, which is probably the right solution? And so you're always trying to figure things out and pivot and learn from those, and what's your competition doing? Um, yeah, the other thing is I think I paid too much attention to what my competition was doing, and to what's on LinkedIn, and like, versus just ignoring all of that and focusing on like, hey, what are we really good at? And let's just do that. And not pay attention to what other people are doing. Um, I don't know. That's just off the top of my head. There's probably a lot more, but
No, that's excellent.